Thank you for your interest in being a poll watcher. Some of you guys have been poll watchers. I recognize some familiar faces back there. Thank you for doing this. This is important to running elections with integrity. We've never had Republican poll watchers in Hanover County that I'm aware of until the last election. So this is a new thing. After what happened in 2020, there have been more citizens that have been more willing to get involved and that want to pay attention and watch. I will also confess that I have an ulterior motive in having you guys here tonight and teaching this. It's because I would like to see some of you become election officers. I'm Chief Officer of Elections in Hanover County, been one for about 20 years. I'm trying to recruit more election officers. We need more. From the last poll watching sessions that we did in 2020, I think 32 of the members of this committee went over and signed up to be election officers. And believe it or not, in Republican Hanover County, we had more Democrat election officers than we did Republicans until the last time, and that's changed. So I'd like to change that some more, guys. So being a poll watcher will give you you'll get to see what we do when we run an election, and you'll see everything that takes place. And so I'm hoping that you go, hey, I can do that. And it's only 2 times a year, June and November. It's a long day, kind of sucks, because it's a really long day, and the pay sucks. But if you want to get back to your county, I think this is a great way to do it, and make sure that we run safe, efficient, and fair elections in Hanover County. Okay, so let's get started. What is a poll watcher? The official name for poll watcher is authorized representative. You are an authorized representative of a party, in this case maybe the Hanover County Republican Committee. You may be authorized by a candidate and to go in and watch polls. So that's plain and simple what it is. You must be a Virginia voter. And if you show up at my precinct, and even if you've got the authorization list, I'm going to ask you for your voter registration or some information so I can go in the system and make sure that you are a qualified voter. If you're not a Virginia voter, you can't be a poll watcher. You must have a written authorization. I've got some samples in the back here. So assuming that you all are working through Hanover County Republican Committee, it's going to have to be signed by Jack Dyer, chairman, and you'll be authorized when you show up in the morning, or anytime, whenever you show up at the voting precinct, you're going to need to show the chief the authorization and some ID so that the chief can check and make sure that you are a qualified voter. Okay. If you're a candidate, you can't be a poll watcher. You can show up for provisional ballot processing, right, Deb? If you're a candidate, but you cannot be a poll watcher during the election if you are one of the candidates. So what do you need? What characteristics do you need? You need good hearing, and that's not a joke, because you have to give the election officer some space, and so you're typically standing or sitting behind them. So you have to be close enough to hear, but without intruding on their space and distracting them while they're working. Some precincts, that's not an issue. Some of the precincts, like maybe Mechanicsville, which is huge, it's got a lot of noise going on. And so if you don't have good hearing, or if you're like me, I have good hearing, but I have the inability to filter in my hearing. So strange noises really impact my ability to hear what people are saying. So I don't know if I'd be a good poll watcher. I'd be maybe a good poll watcher in a quiet poll precinct, but not in, say, Mechanicsville. You gotta pay attention. The election officers don't have time to hold your hands, so you have to be able to focus and pay attention, to what they're doing. You can certainly ask questions, but you can't interfere with them doing their jobs. Because if you do that in my precinct, then I'll be asking you to leave. You cannot distract my officer. But you can come to me and you can say, hey, why is that happening? And I'll be happy, and my assistant chief would do the same, would be happy to answer your questions. But don't mess with the workers while they're working. It's simple as that. The numbers, I'm not going to go into all the details on this, but the numbers vary, but you have a limited number of poll watchers. Say Mechanicsville, which might have 8 poll books set up, a party or candidate could have 8 poll watchers. You can have 1 poll watcher behind every check-in station. If you have a smaller precinct like mine, where we typically have 2 or 3. I'll run 2 poll books in a primary, 3 in a general election. You can have a maximum of 3 poll watchers per party or candidate. So there's some limitations on that, which is great because some of the spaces get a little tight. The timing, the scheduling on when you work is up to you guys and probably your mag chair. I think the mag chairs are scheduling and stuff. I think I saw something in Russ Pond come out today. And you can stay all day. You know, if you want to see what it's really like, you can stay all day and observe. You can come and go in shifts, whatever you work out with your mag chair. We really don't care. You know, as election officers, we don't care. You just show up and present your authorization, and you know, you can wander around. You can sit. Most poll watchers like to sit behind the check-in stations. Theoretically, poll watchers will typically come in with, theoretically, they will come in with a list of their voters. And so, and what they're doing is they're listening to see if their voters have voted, and they're crossing them off. And what they'll do is say, in the afternoon, they'll go like, well, we had 700 that we expected to vote, and only 300 have not. They can call their candidate or their party and go, yo, we got a shortage of people showing up. So you guys need to get on the phone, or what you got to do and get your people out. So I haven't seen that happen. It's just too hard to do. You have to get your own list. The election officers, we're not going to give you a list, so you have to get your list from the party or whatever, or the potential candidates, and you know you have to do that on your own. You can't. The election officers will not be able to help you do that. So, practically speaking, especially given that we rarely have enough poll watchers to man every check-in station, so you're going to miss some. I would suggest that your primary job is to know the rules, which we're going to go tonight, keep this manual, and be looking for things that are not done properly. And well, I'll get on that a little bit more. There is a do's and don'ts guide in here, in the back. That comes directly from the Department of Elections. They set all the rules, so I'm not going to go through them, but you guys have got them. I'd encourage you to take this with you when you go to the polls that day, because you may see something and go, oh, hey, is that the do's and don'ts? And you can go through, but there's a good page of do's and don'ts. That'll give you a lot of guidance and stuff. I'm just going to cover the really important stuff tonight. This page is a summary of what I just talked about. You got all that on one page for you. Poll watch conduct. That's what I want to talk to most about tonight. Not going to be a problem with our guys, right? Thank you. The most important thing to me that you guys need to understand is that this is a collaboration. It's a collaboration between the election officers and between you guys, the poll watchers. We're all trying to run a fair, a safe, and efficient election. And as such, we're partners in this. And I would suggest that you walk into the precinct with that mentality. Don't walk in with an adversarial demeanor. You know, and I've seen it in other localities. The party gets people all ginned up, and they walk in going, I know you guys are cheating, and I'm here to catch you cheating today. It's not a good start to a partnership. Not a good way for a marriage, not a good way for a business partnership, and it doesn't work in an election either, guys. So you may see something go wrong. It's probably going to be a mistake and not something that's done on purpose. And so let's talk to people with respect and be professionals about how we address people. So is what I suggest. Remember, it's state law that, I mean, if you abuse, curse out, or get really aggressive with an election officer, that's a violation of state law. And you know, you do that in my precinct, your butt's going out. And if you want to challenge me, I'm going to have a deputy there in about 1 minute, and I'll take you out in handcuffs, because it is a state law. Dave Hines keeps a deputy within about a 1 minute response to every precinct on election day. And then he'll drop in, Dave won't, but they'll have, you know, deputies will just randomly drop in and check in on us and make sure everything's okay. So if somebody gets unruly and I ask them to leave and they want to challenge my authority, go, you know, 911, big bang, they can go out and chrome bracelets. We do have a code word. Election officers do have a code word. I'm not going to share it. but we have a code phrase that we have for each other, that if something is going on where we think it needs 911, I'll walk up to Al and I'll go blah, 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 and Al knows if he hears that, he's not saying, what's going on? What's up, what's up? His job is to go outside, call 911 immediately. So we're set up to handle that kind of stuff. Never had that in my precinct, but I haven't even heard that happen, but it has happened in other places, unfortunately. So you show up with the right attitude, you know, and all that good stuff, and you have the right to wander around. You can position yourself so that you can see what's going on. You may not see a ballot as it's been cast. You may not see how somebody has cast a ballot. You may not touch a ballot. That ain't me, that's the law. You cannot touch a ballot. You can't touch one of the laptops, and you can't touch the ballot scanner. And you do that, and you're in big trouble. So it's all just observe it, right? I can't say, Al, go stand in the corner over there and watch from over there. I don't have that right. You know, Al has a right to position himself as long as he's not inhibiting the flow of voters, or he's not, you know, distracting my officers, whatever. Al has a right to walk around and observe what he thinks he needs to observe to do his job. So again, it's a collaboration and partnership. If you're not sure, ask. Say, are we okay if I go over there? You know, we do want to work with you guys. All voters are going to check in at those check-in tables. We have the electronic poll books, which I think were laptops, which were laptops in the past. I think we're getting brand new tablets this time. But anyway, all voters have to check in there, and you can observe there. There's a situation that results in casting what's called a provisional ballot. I'll go into more detail later on that. But provisional ballots are not cast in the typical voting booth. They're typically cast over, so I have a table next to my table where they will come over. You do not have the right to be over there and see what's going on with the provisional ballot, where you can see how the person voted or see the information that they're putting on the special envelope that they have to fill out. So you can look from a distance, but you cannot walk over and be looking over that person's shoulder. That would be no different than going to the voter's booth and watching how the person was casting the ballot in the voter's booth. It's simply not allowed. I've covered. I've already said you can't hinder or delay voters or officers. You can't insult or abuse. You have to be apolitical. Assuming we're all Republicans in this room tonight, but when you walk into the precinct, you're apolitical. You have to be. You can't wear any campaign material, no vote for, or anything like that. Can't have any sample ballots. Can't give out any sample ballots. Can't give any advice. I mean, even election officers can't give advice. But you know, it's hard sometimes. People want to be helpful, and there's kind of a natural instinct sometimes that want to help a voter that maybe having a problem. I've seen this happen on referendums, because we've all seen referendums on ballots. They're written by lawyers, not by human beings. Excuse me, I'm not a lawyer in here. Sorry. And I've got it all the time. Somebody says, I don't understand, what is this right to work? How should I vote on this right to work, referendum? And I can't help you. You should have done the research before you walked in the door, but I can't give you any advice. I heard of another poll watcher at another precinct just trying to be helpful. Well, if it means this, it means this. Shut up. You can't do that. You can't give advice. You can't tell them. They need to do their homework before they walk into the room. So it's again, we're all good people, and you see somebody struggling, and you want the instinct is to help people. Can't do it. Not when it comes to that. Filming. You cannot film. You cannot take pictures. You cannot take video inside the precinct against the law. Okay. That doesn't even mean, I'm not even talking about just the ballot. I'm talking about you just can't take pictures. There's everybody these days, everybody wants to whip out their camera phone and take pictures of whatever they see. You cannot do that. So just don't do that. The only person that can use a camera Candidates can't, poll watchers can't, I can't. Voters are allowed to take a selfie or take a photo of their ballot. And vote, because voters can announce their ballot if they want, they can announce how they vote. So, you again, just keep the cameras down. I really recommend you not even use your cell phone. If you have to, go outside, step outside and make a call, just so you're not distracting. But whether or not you do that, you may not take a photo, you may not take a video while you're in there. Again, it's against the law. There are cases where you may want to challenge a voter. Someone comes in to vote, and you're sitting there as a poll watcher, and you go, "That's my neighbor's daughter, and I know she's only 16 years old. So how she shouldn't be allowed to vote?" You have the right to challenge a voter like that, or you can say, "I know that guy. He's one of my hunting buddies, and he lives over in Verona. You can't vote in Beaver Dam." So you have the right to make those challenges, and if you feel that way, you should go right to the chief. Don't go to any other election officers. Go right to the chief and say, "I don't think that person is qualified to vote here, and this is why." What's going to happen, and the form's in here, they'll have to fill out a form. I'll fill out part of it. The person who challenges will fill out part of it saying, "I challenge this voter's right to vote because," and there's a list of reasons. And then there's an affirmation part for the voter, where the voter can say, "That person's full of it, and I am qualified to vote," and blah, 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 and they fill in their information, and it will be dealt with by the electoral board. So, but you do have the right, and so if you think somebody's not qualified to vote for any reason, you can just make it known to the chief. Guess that.
Will they be able to go ahead and process their own vote once they go through the process? Or, I mean, it doesn't stop them,
It'll probably be a provisional ballot. Provisional ballots are done, for anybody that, Hanover County has a mantra that everybody votes. Everybody votes. We don't turn anybody away. But if you don't feel that, there's 6 reasons to provoke provisional. So let's say you show up and you say you're a voter in the Verona district or whatever, and you're not in the poll book, and you insist, "Well, I voted here 3 times before, so I know that I am." Well, you're not in the list of voters, the qualified voters. What will happen is if it's my precinct, I'll call Terry, the registrar, and I'll say, give the person's information. She has access to the DMV database, taxation database, and other statewide databases, and she can go out and do some research. And she'll come back to me and she'll say, "Have them vote provisional," and we'll vote provisional ballot. So it will not go into the ballot scanner. It will not be counted that night. It'll go before the electoral board, which will meet the following day, and they will vote on whether or not that ballot will be accepted or not. So, any questions on that?
Is that the basic definition of provisional?
Provisional is the ballot where you do not, for whatever reason, there's 6 reasons, you don't qualify for me as an election officer to hand you a ballot, but we want you to vote. We don't want to say, we don't turn people away. So, but it requires more scrutiny. And we're required, as a chief, I'm required to contact the registrar to give her a heads up on this person. I'll give a name, address, social, last 4 of social, date of birth, and they'll start doing research so that when the electoral board meets the next day, they can hopefully wham bam, get through these things pretty quickly. Because what they do is they vote on whether they're going to accept the ballot before they open it. So that it's sealed in this green envelope is tacky green envelope, and they'll vote on whether it's to be accepted. And if they say no, that it's never open. The envelope's not open. It's marked, and put in a special place. And if they vote yes, we will accept this ballot, and it's open, and the ballot is actually cast. Yes, sir.
If you don't have an ID, you can still vote, and all you have to do is fill out a form, right?
Yep. That's true. The Northam administration made a boatload of changes to voter laws in this state. McAuliffe did too, but a lot of them cost our county a lot of money, because they jerk stuff around at the last minute. And so you can vote, we'll get into that in a second, but you can vote with a utility bill, in Virginia. So if you want, If I walk in with an electric bill that's less than 12 months old, and it's got your name and you're on the poll book, I'm gonna give you a ballot. You got no choice. That's, and I'm gonna veer off from here and just do my personal opinion. I'm just coming from election officer and got to write this course. I hate the early voting in Virginia because 45 days is crazy. You know, we have 45 days. We start on September 23rd. Because I know I'll be over here working. And it's nuts. But I'm encouraging everybody to go vote early. Because here's a situation that it could very easily happen. I go through Al's trash, I see his electric bill, I'm gonna go vote as Al. Then I may go over your Beaver Dam, I'm gonna vote as Ed. So Al shows up on election day, because he didn't wanna vote early, and he rolls in, and dude, you've already voted. Oh, no, I haven't. So we'll let you vote provisional, but it's, yeah. And, as I said, just said a minute ago, the 3 members of the electoral board are gonna vote on whether to even open that envelope to cast your ballot. The electoral board is 3 members. 2 members right now are Democrats, and there's only one is a Republican. Because the rule is that when you're appointed to the majority is always governed by who is governor at that time. So we have McAuliffe, we had Northam, so 2 of the 3 are Democrats. We got 1 Republican. So you're gonna have 2 Democrats decide whether or not to count your ballot.
Now that we've got a Republican governor, is that not gonna change?
Yes, January.
Not gonna change.
Yeah, Robert Barnett's, I think Robert Barnett's term expires in December. And, there's a possibility I will be the one going on the electoral board. So, it's been discussed, that's all in the discussion. So, but you could be disenfranchised because of our lax, ID laws.
What's the chances of them accepting that vote if somebody's already used it?
Slim and none, slim left hand. I mean, what are they gonna do? Even me, I'm sitting here like, well, somebody showed up, presented acceptable ID and voted. This clown shows up after the fact, how do we know? So you kinda gotta go that route. That's why I say, don't be disenfranchised, get out and vote early. Let's get it done.
I remember, that was one of the things I was stressing, to defeat fraud, is to vote early, even though people like myself prefer to vote on the actual voting day.
Yeah,
Is to get out and vote as early as you can, so your vote cannot be stolen.
exactly. Is there another question? Yes, sir.
Does that utility bill have to be the actual printed bill from the utility, or could it be printed offline, or?
Could be a copy. I mean, you show up with what, you print it on a color printer and everything, you show up, I mean, I won't be able to tell the difference between that and a regular, Rappahannock bill or whatever bill. So we're gonna let you vote, we have a choice. So, yes, ma'am.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah, we will. Well, we have to take control of the Senate in 2023. The Democrats control the Senate until 2023. If we take it back, we have the House now, but everything we proposed in the House, that passed in the House, got killed. And with the exception of allocating absentee ballots back to the precincts, everything got killed. So we'll go back to photo ID in a heartbeat if we can take control of the Senate in 2023, in my opinion. Yes, sir.
The person doesn't drive, but he has a photo ID from his work, which is recognized as him. Or he's a veteran, he's got the VA card or something. All those things can count as an ID.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, we'll go through this. I've got a list of it. Thanks.
Yeah, there's no official ID and the rest of them are unofficial.
No. You could be.
Electric bill's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You could be a member of one of the 11 recognized Indian tribes in Virginia, and you show up with your tribal ID with photo. We accept that.
What are they called?
The tribal IDs, if you're like,
tribal.
yeah, if you're Pamunkey Indian or Chickahominy Indians
Yeah,
tribes.
they got an ID from.
Yeah, and there's 11 of them that are recognized in Virginia, and we will accept that photo IDs. Yes, sir.
I was an officer of election last year, and I was told by Terry that you had no ID. You could vote, and your vote goes in, and you fill out a form, and that's it.
That's true. I'll cover that in just a sec.
There's no ID.
That's, yeah, you can sign a confirmation. You show up with no ID, and you sign a confirmation statement saying, yeah, I really am who I am. I promise, I swear I am who I am, and you sign it. Now, it's a felony, If you do that and you do it, you know, and you're caught, it is a felony in Virginia, but it was actually, you gotta get caught.
Especially since we can't take a picture of it.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Let's see, new thing, you cannot take a firearm in a polling place. Up until last year, you could, unless the precinct was in a school. My precinct's in elementary school, so, you know, I have to leave mine in the car, and I don't like it, because these days, as crazy as it's getting, I would much rather be armed and be able to defend my officers. But now you can't do it anyway, that was another Northam change. So, no firearms, so can't carry them in. Bad guys can, but you know, we can't. Once again, can't wear any campaign, no stickers, anything like that kind of stuff. Yeah, before we get into the IDs, just one more thing, you would only see this or hear this in the morning, if you got there before 6, but this is a safety assessment. And I do a safety assessment, and then I have to go over it with my officers. And that's also where we discuss the secret code word to call 911. So that's where's the fire extinguishers, where's the exits. You'd be privy to that if you're there early. This page of the book is the acceptable IDs for this election, right here. Covers everything that is accepted and 4 things that are not. And you can study that at home, take it with you. I suggest you take it with you. But this is the form that the gentleman back there in the back is it Chuck? Chuck? This is the form that Chuck was just talking about. This is the voter confirmation statement. This is also in your training manual. This is where you pinky swear that you're who you say you are. And that's all you gotta do to get a ballot in Virginia now. So. We talked about challenging a voter, so I won't go over that again. This is the 2-page form that's in here, that if you do challenge a voter, that the information has gotta be filled out. I don't wanna go through all that line by line, but you can read it if you're interested. I've never been party to a challenge, so I gotta guess it's pretty rare, but I've never had it happen, so it probably has happened elsewhere, but it's a very rare occurrence.
Could you, challenge somebody if you saw them twice in the same day?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if you worked early voting and saw them on, October 1st and then saw them on election day?
You could, but if they come in with the same IDs, they're not gonna be allowed to vote, because you're marked, as soon as I hand you that ballot.
Right, but if you saw them and they voted on October 1st as themselves, and then today they're voting, but you see them with the
Absolutely.
same face.
Absolutely, you can challenge them. I saw that guy, I was working early voting, and I saw him show up, and here he is today on the 8th. And, that would be a great, ideal thing to do. I had a young man, I don't know why he came to me twice, but he rolls in to vote. He's not in the poll book. He gets all, gets real belligerent that I voted to Beaver Dam for blah, 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 the last 3 elections, yada, yada, yada. I said, no problem, come on over. I called the registrar, and she looks on the state database, and she said, he's a Henrico resident. He voted in Henrico. He's already voted in Henrico. She said, haven't cast a provisional, so he did provisional. You know it's not gonna be counted. Well, he came back the next election, and I remembered it. And so, when I did a provisional, I said, I gave him a heads up, hey, this is the second election, because I remember this guy from last time, because he got so belligerent with me, it was just easy to remember.
Yeah.
Well, Virginia State Police called on him about a week later. So we turned over to the electoral board, and the VSP showed up, and don't do that no more. So we can catch it. Tell you another weird one though, since we're talking about IDs, and this actually happened. I was working in South Anna precinct years ago, and guy comes in and votes, young man, I'm assuming from the last name Cambodian or Thai. It was real long, very easy to remember. And I had processing, and about 4 hours later, another young man comes in, and I said, "You've already voted?" He's going, "No, I haven't." And this guy had the same name, everything, and even looked like the same guy, except this guy's in scrubs. And he's going like, sir, I'm at MTV, I just got out off work, I have not voted. So I took him aside, started talking to him, and went, somebody who looks like you, because I processed them, and with the same name as you, came in this morning and voted. So how do you explain that? And he thought about it like, younger brother. His younger brother was underage and couldn't drink legally. So he borrowed big brother's driver's license so he could go drink legally or illegally with his, and when he came in, he gave me the wrong driver's license. Gave me his brother's driver's license. So his brother and I are figuring this out, and his brother's getting mad as hell. And I said, well, you know, I said legally, I can stop you from voting. I said, but I'm gonna kind of use some common sense here, and I'm gonna allow you to vote. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna log you in as your brother, but I'm only gonna do that on one condition. And he said, what's that? I said, kick his ass when you get home. He said, done. So, but those are some of the weird things, and that was not intentional, and little brother screwed up. This is some of the things that, you know, life and day in life as an election officer that you deal with, some of the weird stuff. Yes, ma'am.
What about, someone who's a legal alien, if they walk in, you know?
If they have ID, if they sign the voter confirmation statement,
Yeah.
they'll get a ballot
As an illegal alien?
as a legal alien.
Without electric.
Do you count,
Yeah.
do you count the vote?
Well, if they get a ballot and they cast it, it will, yes, sir, it will be counted.
And if they don't sign,
If they don't sign, they won't get a ballot. Well, they don't sign, they'll get it. If they refuse to sign the confirmation, I'll still let them vote for visual, but it won't be counted.
yeah,
Yeah.
it still gets, they still get to do a ballot, but you keep the ballot and put it in the envelope.
Put it in
It's
the
gotta
magic
go
green
before the
envelope,
board.
yeah, yes, sir.
Someone called me years ago, and I haven't kept up with it, that they allowed, I forget how many thousands of felons to vote.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Is that still in effect?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Is that
Did he
gonna be-
restore their
be
rights?
one of the things
Yeah.
that's going to go away if we take this
I
out?
have no clue. I try to stay out of politics as much as I can, you know what I mean? So I really don't know, but yeah, but those are situations that can happen. Any other questions? Okay. This is something that you will see, that you need to be aware of. There are voters, that need assistance to vote. In fact, I have a gentleman that votes every time in my precinct, that's visually impaired. He will bring, his daughter in, who is an adult, and ask to allow her, because only the voter can go into the voting booth, unless they fill out this form, this voter assistance form. So he'll come in and say, I want my daughter to come to me. I go, that's cool. They fill out the form, you know, he says, I need assistance. He says, I need assistance. The person who's providing assistance will say, you know, I'm gonna provide assistance. I will not try to influence their vote, tell them how to vote, anything like that. Then I sign it, and it goes in a special envelope. And then that's the only time you can have two people in a vote, is when that form is being filled out. So if you see two people walking to a voter booth, and you haven't seen them go to the chief and get a voter assistance form filled out, that's something you need to bring to the attention of the chief immediately. Again, it's against the law.
So they come in and get that form, and from someone, they don't have it ahead of time?
No, they don't have it ahead of time. I have them in a special envelope in my chief's bag, and they'll go to the election officer, and they say, you need to go talk to, you need to go see it. They say, I need assistance, you need to go see it. I have another gentleman that's, visually impaired, but, he doesn't need assistance, but I do have, like a huge magnifying glass, like the size of a sheet of paper, that I can give them, that they can vote. And we also have, handicapped voting machines in Hanover County, where they put on headphones, and they can be directed verbally on how to cast a vote. So we accommodate that kind of stuff as much as possible. Yes, sir?
Hopefully I'm not jumping ahead. I understand you can also do curbside
Yes.
voting.
Yes. Virginia law states that anyone with physical disabilities, or challenges that make it hard to get in and out of the precinct, or anyone who is 65 and over, can vote curbside. All they have to do is pull up out front. We always have an officer out there looking for those types of voters. They get the ID, the election officer gets the IDs, if it's multiple, brings them in, they're vetted, ticket goes out, puts the ballots in manila envelope for privacy, they vote it, takes it back inside the cast, puts it in the ballot machine.
So as a poll watcher, what if you observe when they're doing curbside, voting, that, somebody else in the car is assisting or maybe, unduly influencing, yet they haven't signed a form? What as a poll watcher could you do?
That's an interesting situation, because in some cases, I'll be honest, I would let that go. I would, if they're all in the same car and it's like a daughter or something, and the person is pretty elderly, I would probably let that go and not make them go through the extra hassle to fill out the form. I mean, we had situations, my coolest situation, we had a lot of curbside voters in Beaver Dam. We had 53 at the last presidential election. We had a lady, we had a car roll in. The lady in the passenger seat was 107 years old. She was with her 83-year-old daughter and her 67-year-old granddaughter who was driving.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was seriously cool, because the lady who was 107 started tearing up when talking to her. She said, "Thank God for curbside voting in Virginia, because I wouldn't be able to get out here." But her granddaughter was helping her, and truthfully, I looked the other way. You know, so another situation, there's a situation where you kind of use some judgment and experience. Now, if it looks like somebody's being hinky or somebody's running up to the car and trying to influence, yeah, I'm gonna take a different stance on something like that. But that situation, I just look the other way.
What if you know it's not a family member? If, you know, they're driving people, outside third
Like
parties?
the meals.
That I would challenge, and that I would make them fill out the voter assistance form. Typically, that's only done when you have two people going to the same booth. This is kind of the same thing, but in that car, you had all 3 people voting. They all knew, you know, what was going on, they could see what was going on. So, you know, that's when I walk away from it. But if something looks hinky to me, to cover my butt, I'm gonna have them fill out a voter assistance form. Yeah. Chuck?
You can take your child and vote up to a certain age, right?
15. You
15.
can take your child with you to the voting booth up to the 15 years of age. It happens all the time. So sometimes people they want their children, they want to introduce their children to the process. Sometimes they don't have a babysitter, and they want to vote. So they bring them with them. If they're over 15, that's a no-no. Yes, sir.
You know, on the curbside, last election, we had a guy who wanted to vote. He didn't have any utility bill or any ID or anything like that, but his daughter brought it. So wound up, she filled out paper, and he got the vote on the ballot, and it was put in, I guess, provisional.
Okay, well, as long as it's put in provisional, then I feel comfortable
Yeah,
with
but
that.
his daughter filled out the paperwork stating that she, you know, that he was a legal voter and lived at the address, the same address she did.
Yeah, they probably opened it and counted it. They make the extra 25 cents an hour out of those guys handle it. That's fun. Anything else, guys, on that? All right, we'll move on. Let's see. The other assistance thing we haven't talked about was translator. We have, somebody comes in that needs a translator. Same kind of deal. They have to fill out the assistance form, but this is a case where you guys can get involved. If you guys can speak the language of that nationality, a poll watcher can actually become the translator for that particular ballot casting. You have to, again, fill out the form and all that kind of stuff, but as you say, well, I speak whatever, and they say, okay, well, we need your help, and if you want to help, then you can, as a poll watcher, you can actually get involved and assist that particular voter. But same deal, if somebody else assists them, 2 people in the booth, gotta have that blue form. Want to see that blue form, 2 people in the booth. So this all stuff, these forms all go in special envelopes. I've got, end of the night, I got 10 different envelopes. That this has got to go here, this has got to go here, this has got to go here. Just, you know, keep the bureaucracy rolling. So all that kind of stuff is sorted out. Some goes to the clerk of the court, some goes to the registrar's office, just, you know, wherever appropriate. If you do see a problem, again, you know, you really don't wait to bring it to the attention. It's much easier to resolve things right there on the spot than the next day. So don't wait and go, well, I'm not sure. If you're not sure, just ask. You know, if you're really not sure about something, come up to me and say, you know, I just saw this, ask me, I'll tell you, you're full of it. I'll say, no, I think that's legit, I think we need to do something about it. If you do not get the response from me that you want, you have the right to call the registrar's office. And I promise you, you will get a response from them. If you ever take one of these courses at the state level, I think Middle Resolution offers one, RPV offers one, they're gonna tell you to contact the electoral board. Now, the electoral board is the highest authority in Hanover County. Voter registration, part of voter registration, and our registrar reports and serves at the pleasure of the electoral board. So they're the highest authority. But here's the practical problem with that. On election day, the three guys from the electoral board are traveling from precinct to precinct because they do drop-ins. They'll just drop in, you know, out of the blue and kind of like just do a quick audit and check and make sure. So they're traveling all over the county. So God knows when they could get back. Terry and her entire team are sitting by the phone, waiting for guys like me to call with a question or problem or provision. So you'll get a much faster response, and the numbers are in the manual here. Call the registrar's office and say, this is Mary Smith, I'm a poll watcher out of Beaver Dam Elementary School. I just saw this, Ed was a jerk, didn't help me out. You know, what do you guys think? And so you do have recourse if you don't get an acceptable response from the chief of that particular precinct, whoever you're watching, okay? Before the poll's open, what can poll watchers do before the poll's open? We roll in at 5 o'clock. And polls open at 6. So we have an hour to get ready for voters. And it's a really, really intense and stressful hour for us. And I'm not particularly patient, honestly, with distractions. Because my goal is get those voters 6 o'clock, get those voters in here. Those guys want to vote and go to work. So I really don't like poll watchers there from 5 to 6. I'll be just straight up honest with you. That said, you have the right to be there, and you can be there if you want to be there. I would just ask you, if you choose to do that, just be considerate. You know, everybody, all of us are running around with our hair on fire. We're trying to get, because we're not allowed to do things until the morning of the election day. I'll be there the night before, and I'll set up voting booths and stuff like that, but we can't open the poll books, we can't set up the ballot scanner, we can't do anything like that until after 5 a.m. on voting day. So we got a lot to do, and it's real intense, and we have to do it right. We have to get it right the first time. So it's stressful. So be considerate of that. Position yourself so you can watch if you want. My opinion, and it's just my opinion only, there's only one practical thing that I think you can accomplish by being there before the polls officially open, and that is to confirm that the ballot scanner has not already scanned any ballots. Okay? When we boot up the ballot scanner, it produces what's called a zero tape. It prints out all this crap on a big, like a receipt-sized tape, but it shows that it's all zeros, because it lists all the candidates in that election and everything, and it should say 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. If you're going to get up there early and come in that early, then you owe it to yourself and to everybody else actually to confirm that. Make sure that what are you talking about? It's already 25 ballots been cast. It's not even 6 o'clock yet. When that happens, you don't even come to me. You go in front of the registrar. Say you need to, because they'll have somebody come over and reset it before 6. So that's the most important thing. Quite frankly, if you roll in at 10 a.m., show me your authorization and say, hey, can I see the zero tape? I want to show it to you. So you don't have to be there at 5 unless you're just masochistic like me. But so you can see that anytime. I have to take the zero tape and I have to staple it to what's called a statement of results. So it goes in, because then the tapes come off at the end of the night, go with it. So you see we start at 0, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I really don't see a need for poll watchers to be there that early. But if you really want to, again, I'll accommodate you and show you the zero tape and tell you to get on my way. Yes, sir.
So what if, take your examples, the tape's on 0, it has 25 votes on it. Nobody looks at it. I mean, obviously the chief looks at it, but they accept it the way it is. And the day goes on, you roll it at 10, you look at the tape, you know, you say, this is not right, call the registrar. How do they resolve that out?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, cause first of all, well, I know what, the first thing Terry's gonna do is crawl up my you-know-what, because I should have checked it before I stapled it to the statement of results, right?
You know what they say though, right? I mean, you can ask for forgiveness or you ask for permission. And it sounds to me like in this case, it's, you know, you do diligence.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Terry takes this stuff seriously, she doesn't play. I just, you know, I don't wanna get on her bad side, so I check the tape. But as poll watchers, that's something you should confirm, because there have been instances, not in Hanover County that I'm aware of, but where that exact thing has happened, where they started off the day, you know, 25 or 100 or whatever. So, you know, you hear all about the ballot stuffing and all that. Oh, let me veer off real quick. We only have one ballot box in Hanover, thank God, they're not all over the place, and they're right outside the voter registration office over here. There is a camera, there is a security camera on it. It's on at 24/7. But we suggested to Terry Smithson, the registrar, that she ask Hanover IT to implement a live stream camera on the ballot box and post it on the Hanover County website, so that any citizen can go to the Hanover County website at any time during a 24-hour day, and they can watch that ballot box. So if you see some clown roll in at 2 a.m. and start putting 500 ballots in, you call the sheriff, who's literally 1 block away, and have it taken care of. So she's asked IT, so I think that'd be great, only having one and then having a live stream. That's gonna be that's gonna be a deterrent if people are aware of that, and I think they should publicize it. Yes, sir?
Is it a one-in only ballot box? I know they were making new ones where you can put more ballots in at a time.
Oh, I don't know. You know, in fact, it's actually right over here in front of the voter registration office, but I don't think you can put 100 or something at one time. I don't know if you just one, but you're gonna be there a while if you're gonna try to stuff 100. Be long enough for if somebody's paying attention to, you know, it's a call, somebody, you know, some people don't sleep real well, and they wanna sit there and watch that thing. Yo, get over there, you know, interrupt them, so.
You're saying this box is outside the building?
Yeah, it's a yellow box, you'll see it over here, voter registration is right over here as you're leaving, and you'll see the big yellow, it's like a big yellow kind of mailbox.
Oh,
That type thing right out front, it's locked.
secure?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, you're not gonna break into it.
Suitcase.
No. But, and again, it's on camera, so they could go back later if there's an indication that something has been wrong, they could go back and look at the tape. I love the idea that the live stream, you know, video. That came out of the Voter Integrity Committee, subcommittee, this committee, so that idea. Very good.
That's a good question.
Yes, sir.
So the camera, I get it covers the voting box. There's nothing out there that's also capturing car tags as people drive through.
Not unless they happen to go right in front of the current camera. If they drive, you know, if they park over in that area, then they could probably, you know. I would guess somebody that's doing that kind of stuff is not gonna park the car right there, they'll probably park it over, you know, sidewalk, whatever. But criminals are stupid, so. My wife did 12 months on a federal grand jury, and she goes home, she says, criminals are really stupid. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, ma'am.
How often do they empty that box?
I don't know. So Deb, you know how often they empty that box?
I don't know about the one outside, but when I was working at the county on early voting last year, one of the days I was there, they kept jamming up, and we got to witness them opening the box and had to sign that it was open, the date and the time, and we had a Democrat and a Republican witness it.
Yeah. So maybe it's just as needed. I guess there's a way to know that it's filled up, or they do it on a schedule. I really don't know how they do it.
But early voting, you get the ballot in the mail and you mail it back in. I'm not familiar with that.
I mean, that's absentee
Yeah.
balloting. Early voting is you just show up. We start on September 23rd, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We'll run 2 Saturdays, a couple of Sundays for a few hours, Sunday 11 to 3. And you just roll up. It's just like going to your precinct. You roll in there, you go to the check-in table, you show your ID, you get a ballot, you go vote, mark it, cast it, and you're done. So, I just, you know, I take advantage of it. I'm gonna be working anyway, so I take advantage of it while I'm there. Any other questions?
Yeah, people that pick up a ballot, there's no way to guarantee that they're gonna furnish that ballot, they can take that ballot home and fill it out and bring it back at a later date, or they should?
On an absentee ballot?
No, at the drop box.
No, well, a Dropbox is typically used for absentee ballots. So you apply for an absentee ballot, it's mailed to you, you fill it out, you drive up and you drop it in the box. But, and this is a good, actually, this is a good question, because you guys need to know this. Once a voter has been given a ballot, they cannot leave the precinct with it. You can't. That's against law, by the way. So when you're given that ballot, you gotta go mark it and you gotta scan it. But you can't, I wanna go out to the car and show this. No, no, you're not gonna do that.
If you check in, not a mail-in ballot, but if you check in, get a ballot.
For early voting over here?
Early voting,
Yeah.
you can take that, you could actually leave with that.
No, that's illegal. No, you will be grabbed if you try to walk out that door with that ballot in your hand. So that is against Virginia law. So once that ballot is in your hand, you can do two things. You can mark it and scan it, or you can turn it back into me, say, I don't really wanna vote, and then mark it as a void ballot.
That's one thing poll watchers need to be watching for.
What's that?
Somebody
So,
walking
trying to
out
do-
with the ballot.
Absolutely, because I'd wanna know about it immediately.
Who's gonna be grabbing it?
My precinct would be me.
I have a question, it's kind of stupid, but what do we do after tonight to get an ID or a badge or an assignment? I've never done it, but.
What precinct are you in, or what district are you in Hanover County?
We voted Clay School, but.
Are you their mag chair?
No,
Ann?
I think, is that the Henry district?
I couldn't hear what he said.
What district?
What I'm gonna do after you finished, take a couple minutes, along with other folks that may need to fill some slots in, and maybe, go ahead and get some folks on the, time. We have both early voting and election day need to fill in.
Are you mag chair?
For poll watchers.
Is he Henry?
So these mad chairs run our certification, identification, participation, how's that?
Yeah. Well, they'll run your scheduling. I mean, they'll do your scheduling. After tonight, you're all checked in. So you'll get authorized. You'll be authorized to be a poll watcher after tonight.
Okay.
Okay, and Jack will sign it. You'll have to have that form, and then you have to have your ID to prove that you're a Virginia voter. Yes, Amanda?
Yeah, I was just gonna add, so I think typically what Jack does is he will email everyone the authorization form with his signature, and I think he just fills your name in, you fill your name in, and take that with you on, when you go to poll watch.
Yeah. So that's all you need is and what I suggest people do, and this is what I suggest to the, this makes it easier for everybody. I mean, you can give everybody their own authorization form, but personally, I would fill out one. You'll see the forms back here. I would fill out one with everybody that's gonna be at that precinct and authorized by Jack. And then whoever is the first one in that door, maybe you're gonna work the 2 o'clock shift. So whoever's gonna work the 6 a.m. shift will walk in and give that to the chief. And then that's, the authorization form is done. It's just a matter of, you show up at 2 and I'll go, what's your name? And, okay, you're on here, so you're authorized, give me your ID, let me go check, or give me your voter registration card. Let me verify you're a Virginia voter. And then, okay, have at it. That's all it takes. Yes, ma'am?
Maybe the question might be, how do you know who your mag chair is? How does your mag chair contact you for scheduling?
You should be getting an email from your mag chair. I don't want to speak for the mag chairs, that's 2 of them here, right, Amanda?
Well, I'm from Chickahominy District, and
Okay.
I'm gonna start doing that as we, like now, over the next 2 weeks, after we look back in there, after the training. But if you look on the website, and you look up your district, the mag chairs and their email, and I think you have my cell phone listed, so if you're Chickahominy.
I'm sorry, can you say that a little bit louder?
Yeah, I'll say that. So it's on our website. It's hanovergop.com. And what you have to do is at the top, there are these tabs or things you click on. One of them says contacts. So if you click on that, it shows you Jack Dye, our chair, and so on. And if you scroll down, you'll see each of the mag chair, for each of the districts. There are 7 districts in Hanover, and you'll see Ashland and who that person is. And then, like she said, you know.
I know.
And it has
today-
phone numbers. I don't think it has emails, but it has the phone number, so you can call.
I received an email from Russ Pond today, who's my MAG chair for BRAM.
Mhm.
And he has a grid set up, and said,
Right.
you know, put your name, let me know what shifts you wanna work, or when you wanna work.
Well, that's another point to make. Most of the MAG chairs should know who you are. If you signed in at the front desk when you came in, they'll get your info.
Yeah. So the MAG chairs should be reaching out to you guys.
Yep.
And so you can schedule, you know, how you're gonna come and go. In fact, since we're talking about that, let me throw off just a quick sec. We don't have enough poll watchers to do the things that as ideally as we would like to do. We just don't have the volume yet. So what I would suggest to, especially to you MAG chairs, on your scheduling, the three busiest times a day are 6 to 8:30, or 6 to 9, 11 to 1 maybe, and then 4 to 6. Those are the periods where you definitely want to have poll watchers.
Not early days.
Personally, I think that's a waste, as I said earlier. If you want to do the early voting, you tell your MAG chair and say, I want to be there at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I mean.
No, she means early voting, like the
Oh,
day before.
45 days.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, what's your question?
What times of the day?
Same thing.
9 to
Because,
5.
well, yeah, the polls are open 9 to 5.
8:15.
Yeah, I know, I did it last year.
But you have people.
What did you have a time that you felt was busiest?
That's about the same, because you get the before work crowd, you get the lunchtime crowd, and you get the coming home from work crowd. Those are your three surges. So if you have to allocate resources sparingly, allocate them during those 3 periods. And don't worry about the late morning and early afternoon. You just, there's not much to observe, quite frankly, because it really slows down. So, but again, you guys do it the way you like. Yes?
I did it last year, and it helped me the day of election, kinda got me in a rhythm, got a sense of what was going on, so.
We did a poll watch early voting?
Yes. I recommend everybody do it, and if nothing else, you'll have questions that pop up in your head that you won't think of today, so you'll be better prepared the day of.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent tip. For the other advantage of doing it that way is that the registrar is right across the hall. So if you have issues, problems, questions, need clarification, all you gotta do is walk across the hall and Terry and her crew are right there. So it's another advantage. But it does give you a nice taste of it. If you're gonna work election day on the 8th, it does give you a nice taste of it to come in and work the early voting for a couple hours. And you can just come in and out. You're gonna sit right behind it's actually set up pretty well, because you sit pretty close to the election officers, and you can see and hear everything that's going on. So it's not bad. Yeah, I think that's an excellent recommendation. After the polls close, the candidate can come in. That's the only time the candidate can come in to the precinct, is after the polls close. They can have another representative or poll watcher. And you can observe what takes place. Again, stressful time for we OEs. Got to keep in mind that by that time we've put in 14 hours, and we've hit the most important part of our day, because we got to reconcile all this crap and get all this stuff sorted in the envelopes, and then before I deliver the ballots over to Terry after we do all that. So people are tired, a little cranky, a little stressed, so just be considerate, please, when you're observing. You're certainly welcome to observe. Here's one stipulation that's very important. If you choose to be a poll watcher after the polls close, you may not leave until the totals have been announced. You cannot leave. You can't go running out to get on to the radio station or whatever, because you got a preview of what's happening. So what will happen is that the machine will, we close out the ballot scanner, prints out all these tapes. I take them over, I start filling out the statement of results. Once it's a reconciliation process, everything has to balance, because we have voided ballots, spoiled ballots, other things, provisionals, and everything balances. Then I've got the informal totals of the vote count. So I pick up the phone, I call the registrar, and because she wants those numbers as early as possible, because she's got to report to the media and all that kind of stuff. Once I've made that phone call and reported the results, you may then leave the polling place. But until then, if you like to stay, you wanna stay until that task is done. We try to get that task done pretty early, but you can't leave until.
And you can't leave until the ballot count is certified.
No, not certified, just till I call it in. There's no way, I don't have the authority to certify anything. Yeah, so once I call Terry and goes, Joe
What
got,
happens when they don't match?
we figured it out.
Stay it there until you find it.
I don't want, I'm not saying that thing
And
in,
at that
Terry.
point, the poll watcher stays with you, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, you will, yeah, if I haven't gotten the balance, you ain't leaving either. So, but, yeah, I don't,
How long does that?
Terry's little, but she's mean. I'm not getting sideways with Terry, so I wanna make sure everything is I's dotted, T's crossed, and any balances before I.
Got a rule for it.
If we're gonna choose to stay, you got a feel for approximately how long that takes, which I'm sure is gonna be different in the busier districts than not.
Usually within an hour.
Oh, okay, so it's not like you're gonna be there till midnight.
No, we're generally, we close at 7, and we're generally out by 8:30, and some precincts get out faster than that. There's some of these chiefs that kinda have a ego thing about wanting to be the first one, over here with their stuff. And I'm like, this is one of those things that's kinda more important to have it right first,
yes.
but that's just me. But, yeah, so if you're one of those, you'll be out of there, and with me, I mean, that's a priority, getting those numbers is a priority, because Terry wants the counts. So, we make that, but we gotta run the tapes and everything, and then my guys have to pull all the ballots out of the ballot scanner, and box them up, seal them, we safety seal them, security seal them, and all that kind of stuff. So that's how that works. Any other questions? Okay. Let's see. I've already covered that. I'm just gonna reiterate this one more time, I've already said it before, but it's really, really important for poll watchers. By law, you cannot see a voted ballot, you cannot touch any ballot, whether it's been voted or not. You cannot touch a voting machine, a checking machine, EPB, and you cannot touch a ballot scanner. You go look at them all you want, don't touch them, it's against the law. So it's real important. Provisional balloting. Anybody here gonna work? Debbie, are you doing provisional balloting this year? Are you gonna work provisional balloting? You're gonna do absentee? Okay. Is anybody here planning on doing provisional balloting, gonna be a poll watcher?
Well, that's only allowed like 2 or 3 people.
I know, but I didn't know whether, one or more of these might wanna do that. I'm not gonna go into detail on that then. It's all in here. But, I've already talked about the electoral board, the 3 members, the green envelopes. They evaluate and vote on whether or not they're gonna accept the ballot, and that's what that's all about, and you can observe that. And if you're really interested in, in that kind of stuff, go ahead and read here. I'll see the point going through, it's starting to get a little late. Poll watcher authorization forms are in here, just, so you know what they look like. You don't need them, you'll get them from Jack, who will sign them. I've got the forms here, the do's and don'ts are here in the back, the very back. Those are do's, that's your do's and don'ts summary. And the last page on this is just an FYI. Per the state of Virginia, this is what they say when a ballot is cast. This is when a ballot has been officially cast, and it walks you through the criteria for that. I'm assuming you go through that, but if you're interested, you can read that. So, you guys still want to be poll watchers?
Yes.
Oh, question, sir.
Yes, sir. I understand that Hanover is considering ballots on demand, printing ballots the day of, as people are coming in. I said at the Board of Elections meeting, the last one was there. I know Henrico is considering it as well as a vendor that was mentioned. As poll watchers, what do we need to look out for if that's something that's gonna go forward, where they're printing the actual ballots right there, right before it happens? How do we make sure everything's gonna be up and up?
I have no clue. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard that, but I wouldn't worry about it.
I heard it mentioned that, I heard Terry mention that she was gonna meet with the vendor some weeks ago.
I mean, I do know, there were two laws that were changed or implemented. One was the allocating absentee ballots back to the precincts where the person would have originally cast them in person. The other one is, what we call same-day registration, where you can walk in and register and vote. I don't even understand why you would have a need to print ballots on.
What was shared was, that because of laws that have passed recently where they're reporting by precinct, it was stated, I don't necessarily agree, that the difficulty in coming up with the ballots, the way it's gonna be breaking out, the way it's gonna be reporting, that the solution, a possible solution was to go and have ballots on demand.
I mean, that even sounds a little hinky to me, I'd have to think about that, that's totally new.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
That's pretty, yeah, wow.
I can
I'll
imagine.
talk to Terry about that, I talk to her all the time.
Yeah, explain ballots on demand.
Basically, it's not pre-printed, it doesn't have it may have a serial number on it, but it's going to be printed. You come up, you present your information to the poll book, and then a ballot is printed right then, right there.
I don't see a need for that, I just don't see the need, because ballots.
Tell you what,
I don't disagree with it.
Yeah.
I'm not that creative, I can't come up with it.
I'm with you, well, I talk to Terry all the time, so I'll ask her about that, 'cause I'd like to know, I'd like to
Don't
know.
have to be on 24 hours to do that.
Kathy, did you have a question?
Yeah, no, I don't have a question, I just wanna say, the 45 days before the early voting, there's only one place where you can go to vote. That's here. The day of the election, you cannot vote there unless it's your place to vote. People got confused on that last year. They were going 45 days before they were going to like their school or wherever to vote,
Yeah.
and that's not where they could do it
Yeah.
in the early days.
So, the laws that came through, I mean, so fast and furious, the changes, especially under Northam, I mean, had a lot of impact. They caused the county to blow their budget, because, they used to be on, you request an absentee ballot, it gets mailed to you. Well, now, the Northam County had, Northam Administration changed the law that, we now have to send out a self-addressed stamped envelope with the absentee ballot. So they never budgeted for all postage for that. That's the impact that some of these laws have on us, that we pay for that, we taxpayers pay for that. And, you know, there's a large percentage of absentee ballots that never come back. So that stuff just went in the trash. So, but that's the impact of all that nonsense. Yes, sir.
Yeah, last election, they had a private group mail out, absentee ballot.
Yeah, that's legal, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, afraid so. Yeah, afraid so. Anything else, guys? Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for putting up with me. I hope you're all out there early voting, get some experience, and out there on the 8th. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.